One more person.
And everybody make sure you are on mute, except when later on when you have a question for Shelly or have something to say. But while he's giving his presentation, please mute yourself. So welcome everybody, and happy and healthy New Year to you all. And this is great that you are here with us this evening. And we will be ending the year with Cyrano De Bergerac, which is quite lovely and quite fitting. Before I hand it over to Shelly, I just want to make sure that everybody is getting their information, getting their emails. And to everybody, thank you so much for being a friend so that we can have Shelly and all the great facilitators that we are able to have because of you. And in January, Shelly will be with us again on the 24th. He has one in January, but there will be others later in the year. And the quiet girl is what he will tell us about before he says Happy New Year to us at the end of today.
I think it's the 27th, not the 27th.
January the 24th.
24th is. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the wrong. You're right. I got the wrong month up.
Oh,
the 24th.
Okay, the 24th. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
We will be having for those of you who do come to Cinema Paradiso, we did get the title of the new movie that will be on the 9th of January on Tuesday. It will be The Color Purple is the movie that we will be showing at Cinema Paradiso. Other than that, there are many other great programs that I hope you follow on your calendar and join us whenever possible. And without further ado, Shelly, tell us all about Cyrano.
Thank you, Marilyn.
So
Hi, hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all. Hi, Steve. I thought I'd pick something lively, upbeat, a little fun, with a nod to other popular plays, much like it. Anyway, it is Cyrano My Love, was originally entitled Edmond in Europe, in France. It is from 2018. Alexis Michalik, who is an actor, and he is in the film, by the way. He plays Feydeau in the play. Alex Michalik, and he's an actor, writer, director. He won multiple awards and recognition for short films. This was his first film, but it was an adaptation of his play, which was entitled Edmond, which ran for over a year in Paris. It was a hit play in Paris. It is, as you've seen, a backstage account of the writing and staging of the original play, how a man known for strength, courage, intelligence, and wit, and especially a huge proboscis, struggles with opening his heart out of fear, and ricochets, the film ricochets from backstage to on stage to off stage. It is a funny, brisk, poignant, and a love letter to words, plays, playwrights, and actors. The film itself, as we see, begins with a narration by who will turn out to be Honoré, the owner of the restaurant into which Edmond wanders. He tells of the recent happenings in December of 1895. We see a train that crashed into the central station. We see he tells us a car will soon be invented. Alfred Dreyfus is on trial, and a play by a little-known playwright is running in Paris. And that play turns out to be a flop, La Princesse Lantaine, which starred the inimitable Sarah Bernhardt, who was a popular of Rostand's. As the story commences and Edmond wanders home that evening after the flop, he happens on, I love it because if you notice, he happens on what is known as the Lumiere cinematograph. which was the first movie show in the world. The Lumiere brothers, who literally created cinema. And he goes in and he watches it, and he comes home and he informs Rosamund, his wife, that the theater won't last anyway. Only projection rooms for moving images. And I love it. He says, but they'll have to find a shorter name. They'll have to find a shorter name. And then we have the opening title, which flashes across the screen. And I love it because it has significance. It's written out in script, which is a nod to the key element of the original play, as well as the film, which is in effect about the art of letter writing. The art of letter writing. It is in essence as if they're writing us. Anyway, times are tough. As soon as we cut to 1897, we see that times are tough for the beleaguered Edmond Rostand, who's trying to provide for his worried wife, Rosamund. They have 2 young children, and they live in a beautiful apartment in Paris while struggling to reignite his creative engine, his creative mojo. Meantime, his rival, the playwright Georges Feydeau, is the toast of the town, something of which he's happy to remind Rostand continually, especially when they're in that restaurant. Suddenly, though, through a series of events involving a renowned oddball actor, Constant Coquelin, and some of these were real people, as if you stayed for the credits, you would have seen. Coquelin, who is portrayed by a wonderful actor, Olivier Gourmet. We have the cultured cafe owner, who is a total invention, who has a very beautifully stocked library, as we see. And there's Rostand's handsome, if slightly dense, actor friend Leo. And the new object of Leo's affection, who we meet right on, is the costumer Jean. And there's also, we come into contact with a pair of Corsican brothers. I love it, a nod to a whole other story. The money lenders are the backers, the strange backers of the play. And many more will come into play to get Rostand writing again. A new play, loosely based, as he finds, he gets the inspiration at the cafe of a 17th century French writer himself, Ferdinand Cyrano De Bergerac. And then we go, and before you could say, and I love this comment before you could say, let's put on a show, the theater is booked, a cast featuring Coquelin as Cyrano, and I love the scene when they invent the idea of the nose, and we see all the little things he's referring to along the way, the parrot and the cage, and discussing the importance of the nose with his protuberant nose. And Leo, as becomes the love-struck cadet Christian, and they're all assembled, and an opening date is set. All that's needed is the play. And here's another conceit, which Rostand ends up frantically writing throughout. He has 3 acts, then they want 5. He creates 5. As the rehearsals continue along, he eventually churns out in 3 weeks. Everything sounds, forget the reality. In 3 weeks, a 5-act romantic tragicomedy that's inspired in part by Rostand's own dizzyingly unfolding world. As if penning the play weren't nerve-wracking enough, Rostand seems to be the director. It's an amusing merry-go-round of backstage tumult, conspiring to upend the whole production at every turn. That includes the craziness of the diva-esque Maria, a prostitute turned actress, who is the favorite of the aforementioned Corsican brothers, and turns out she was a mistress to both of them. And there is, as the leading, and she plays the leading lady, Roxanne. There's the stage stylings, I love it, of Coquelin's hapless actor's son, Jean, who only wants to be a baker. He doesn't want to be an actor, and he plays a baker in the play. And then there's also Coquelin, who's fighting with another theater management, the Comédie Française. Plus, there's further financial issues. There's costume problems. And later on, in full, with a nod to another great play, for those of you who remember, which was also made into a film, Noise is Off, with a nod to Noise is Off, there's a curiously placed trapdoor. It's sort of the Chekhov device in the film. If you remember, the stage manager is constantly going, and stay away from the trapdoor, which comes back to us later on with Maria. And we even get Chekhov. I love the scene in the brothel when Chekhov is sitting there and they're, discussing. He says, I'm not well. He says, I'm going to die. And he's supposed to everybody. And he's sitting and he introduces himself to Rostand, and they, as if they don't know each other. But it's funny for us. But it is the love triangle comprised of Rostand, Leo, and Jean that spins out in many unplanned ways that gives the story its charmingly stirring, if at times morally shaky, romantic center. And it supplies crucial fodder for Rostand's evolving play. I mean, from the very beginning, when Leo is talking to Jean up on the balcony, and Rostand is standing under the balcony, and he's delivering his lines, it's right out of Cyrano. And it's as if it were invented for the play. It's where he gets the idea, and then he writes the letters back and forth to Jean, which under Rosamond's nervous eye and jealous eye, thinking he's having an affair. But I love it when Leo climbs up to the balcony to give Jean the kiss, and the costumer is standing there. All these little tidbits serve to, add humor to the film, but inspiring what becomes perhaps its most familiar and often reworked conceit is the eloquent, secrecy, secretly provides the words that the tongue-tied Hulk, Leo, uses to woo lovely Jean. As I said, it is, it becomes a Romeo and Juliet scene. And it's a ruse that develops into this flurry of passionate letter writing, as I said, all along. Ultimately, Cyrano's opening night performance comes crashing together. And I love it. We've seen his son. They take him to the brothel to give him inspiration, to give him nerve. And on opening night, boy, does he get nerve. And everything comes together. And it's portrayed in a packed audience to the rafters, lushly. And it's rendered in a succession of little highlights that's peppered with no small amount of close calls, especially with the trapdoor and what they're going to do with it. There's a lot of little surprises, the valiant efforts, it's no spoiler, as we know, because you've seen it already, to report that the work proves to be the smash hit it is. In fact, the opening night show did receive a 2-hour standing ovation in reality. And the rich emotional moments of the film's finale, especially after he takes the stage in one of those raucous curtain calls, really, heightens our good feelings about the film. It sends us out on a high, so to speak. But it's the last scene in the play and the nunnery, which I find very interestingly done, because it takes us into reality. It takes us out of it, breaks the four walls altogether, and it takes place in a real garden under a real tree, outside of a real nunnery. And it shows how artifice can become real to an audience that's caught up in the story. And that's the magic of theater, the magic of cinema for all of us. Ultimately, we come to understand what the play means to each of the characters, each of the main characters, what it means for them to be part of something which initially appeared as a desperate attempt at success, but suddenly reveals itself to be a deeper, more personal, richer, and more long-lasting play. The cinematography is wonderful with the gliding and the swooping and the sweeping cameras, visually capturing the great set design and the art direction. It's sumptuous. It's all, great recreation of 1890s Paris, known as the fin de siècle. The costuming and the score itself, it has a nice warm music score, especially when just before the play begins, we get a great use of Ravel's Bolero. I thought that was a terrific way to use Bolero in the film. And how the cafe owner, invites everybody to come, I'll pay for everybody's dinners on the house, and they all run out to the play, but they all love it in spite of themselves. The actual night show, the actual opening night, as I said, received a 2-hour. It ran for well over 300 performances, and it had countless productions. In fact, they estimate that over 20,000 performances of Cyrano de Bergerac have been performed since it opened. If you looked at the closing credits, which I hope you did, I did remind everybody in the email, please watch the closing credits. You saw the real Coquelin in that first scene, and they actually had his voice. They actually were able to record his voice. He actually did come to the United States, and he performed the play throughout the United States for 2 years before returning to France. In fact, Sarah Bernhardt herself played Cyrano in the United States as well as in France. Of course, you saw Jose Ferrer in his Academy Award-winning performance, Gerard Depardieu in his Academy Award-nominated performance, and others who've all played Cyrano on stage and in film. In fact, just after the film was made, there were 2 productions, one a Broadway production, and another film was done. With Richard Dinklage played Cyrano in a musical version. So the play just continues to go on and on. I think it's wonderful, and it was a great conceit, the way Alex Michalik wrote the film and all the things he brings to it. It's kind of a Shakespeare in Love. It has elements of that. It has elements of Noises Off, and many other, backstage kind of backstage, front stage, off stage kind of doings in a film or a play. And I love all the little scenes outside of the theater. The scene when Edmond has to run to get to see Jean, to catch Leo when he's on his way to see Jean, and he comes in and he says his name is Feydeau, and he runs upstairs, and then the real Feydeau comes in, and the guy behind the counter is all confused. Is a wonderful. It's all French farce. It's all wonderful French farce going on in the film, and the performances are terrific. You could tell they had a lot of fun making this film, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching it. So now I will leave it open for you and see what some of you had to say about it. If you had any comments about it, what you did or didn't like about it. Okay, Linda, jump right in there.
Well, I think I saw the original, well, not the original, but my original was with Mel Ferrer. And
Yeah.
I thought that this particular version he wasn't as bad looking as some of the others. I mean, his nose wasn't as bad. He was handsome next to some of them. Um, you know, the pressure that he was under to complete this play, I wrote this down because I thought it was so funny. He was saying that he couldn't possibly, you know, write something. And the answer was, well, Molière did Tartuffe in a week.
Yeah.
But, you know, the actor was so good, you actually felt his heart
Mhm.
and his disappointment when she's falling in love with him, but through the other fellow. And it's,
Yes.
you know, it's those are his words. So I liked it. I don't know if it was the best version though. I think I liked the other one better. I think it was more serious, the other one. I don't think it was as funny with Mel
Yes,
Ferrar.
yes.
Am I right?
Well, I mean, what's funny here is the process of making the play,
Yeah,
and
right.
the idea of injecting the reality, Rostand's reality, could have been what wrote the play, and it's
That's
yes.
true.
And the letter writing he does with Jean, and she falls in love with Rostand, thinking, and oh well, she thinks, is Leo writing the letters or is he writing the letters, and everything that goes when she finds out, and in the end when they're backstage and he gives, he says goodbye to Jean, and Rosamund is watching, and she thinks, I'm going to lose him, and she said, I thought I was going to lose you, and no, he doesn't. He gives her a kiss, and incidentally, Rosamund herself went on to become a very well-renowned poet in her own right. She was a great poet in her own right. Sadly, Rostand died, I think it was in 1919. He died of the flu. And she went on for about another 20 or so years, and was a well-established poet. So it's interesting.
Was that really Sarah Bernhardt?
Uh,
Was it an actress?
in the
Where
in the
they show,
film?
yeah,
Oh, no,
they
that
showed
was
it in the
Sarah.
film.
That was an actress. That was an
Oh,
actress.
okay, because I never saw her.
Yeah, in fact, if you remember the scene towards the end when she comes into the theater to watch the play,
Uh-huh.
she sits next to the cafe owner, and she says, she makes a comment, and he just stares at her, and he says, "No, you're sitting on my foot." And the fact is, that's a nod. Sarah Bernhardt had a wooden leg,
Oh,
so she would know she was on his foot.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's you really have to know these things, but terrific. Thank you, Linda. Jackie?
We really enjoyed it a lot, and throughout most of the movie, Noises Off is one of our absolute favorite plays
Yeah.
and movies. And we kept saying the references like to Noises Off was terrific. And also, I agree, the use of the Ravel's Bolero was absolutely
Oh, I
fantastic.
love
But
that.
all through it, there were so many little nuances that you really did have to be paying attention. It was honestly, it was terrific. I think that it was probably my favorite of the movies we've done since we've been with you, Shelley. And it's
Oh,
probably my favorite of this too. It moved along, it had its serious points, it had its points to make, and it was
yes.
also lighthearted and fun. So it was great. We loved it.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, Jackie. I missed you last month. Thank you for coming back. You're too, Larry. But oh, that's great. Yeah, it is. It's and yeah, I'll tell you, it gets richer the more you watch it. I mean, I've seen it a number of times, and I still laugh out loud. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful play. I would love to have seen that on the stage. I can't imagine, all the wonderful things they got away with on the stage. Thank you, Steve Greenberg.
Sorry, trying to unmute myself. Yeah, I agree with everything Jackie said, but the star of this film to me was the recreation of Paris in 1897. It reminded me a little of Topsy Turvy, which did the same thing. It was like stepping in a time machine going back to London.
Yes.
in the Gilbert and Sullivan era, and it was just remarkable the shot of them sort of wandering outside the Moulin Rouge after watching the
Yes.
girls do the dance inside was like something out of Renoir's Moulin Rouge or whatever.
Yeah, it was really
Can
captured
he
very well. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's you know, it's not as, it never gets as serious as Topsy Turvy, but it does serve the same. It takes us, it really takes us into that world. I thought it was terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Who else out there? Come on, let's see some hands. I played a little circle game. Rachel.
Okay. Well, as a person that has worked with community theater and all the craziness that goes on, I enjoyed that element of it because it really does happen. That things that could go wrong do go wrong. And if it's live theater, you have to compensate for it. You can't, there's no time to recoup. You got to think on your toes. You got to figure it out. And on that level, I liked it. I did like the main character. This was not one of my favorites, but I did like the main character. I liked, him looking for inspiration. I mean, he has this deadline to write a story, and he's just like looking around and trying to figure it out. And, he has nothing written, and he's just looking at all the different things. So I thought that was an interesting part of it. So.
Terrific. I will tell you, I mean, I didn't mention it. Is one of my favorite scenes, obviously, is the in the cafe at the beginning, when one of the customers insults the owner, and he rips into him. It's from the opening of Cyrano. I mean, it's a great way, and it's a great way of modernizing that scene, if anything, in so many ways. It really tickles you, and it says, okay, we're off to a rousing start here, and he gets the inspiration, from him right there and then. It was terrific. And he explains it away that the owner left him, adopted him and left him the cafe for it to make some kind of sense. So it was terrific. Okay, who else? Anybody else out there? Oh, come on. Some of you must have some feelings about it. Yes, Elena.
This. Sorry, I'm late. I'm in Mexico and I absolutely could not sign on. Somebody got me in. So thank you. I loved it. Everything you talked about and the other kind folks referred to and they're reminding me, and I thought, oh, I left my head off when that happened. I want to comment on his wife. What a sweetheart. What a patient and loving person. She didn't want to lose him, but she thought she was, and then she thought she had. And she never turned ugly or mean or wanted to harm him. I just thought she was a beautiful person. So I want to say that.
Well, that's nice. Well, in truth, they did have a wonderful relationship. So it was reflected here, and this the actress who portrayed her, Alice de Lancaster, is a wonderful actress. She's been acting since she's a teenager, and she starred in she's featured in many terrific films, working with some of the best directors around. And maybe you'll even recognize her. Well, she's been in, I think, I'm not sure if she's been in any that we've done here, but some of you have seen her before. I know it turns up in a lot of films. She's a terrific featured player. And Olivier Gourmet, you should recognize, who plays Cyrano. I mean, he's been in a tremendous amount of film. He's a favorite of many directors, many French
I kept
directors.
thinking I wasn't going to like him. I don't know why, but I got a bad, like, early on feeling, but
Right.
he just kept proving himself to be a really nice guy
Yeah, and
and wanting the
yes,
best for everybody. And what an actor he portrayed when he was doing Cyrano. He really converted himself to another person.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
well, I love it. I love it when Maria, the diva, comes in just before the play goes on, and she's having the discussion with Coquelin, saying, you know, we got to get out there, we got to do this. And she says, it's a good play. And he says, I don't know. And she says, you're right, it's a flop. Before they walk out.
And when the whole group just sort of came together, they were
Yes.
inspired, and they did what actors do. We're going to
Yes.
make this a hit. And that's
Yeah.
what they do. It was just great.
Yeah, even the stage, even had the crusty little stage manager, which is, you know, a mainstay of these kinds of plays, stories, films, is in there, and he plays a role.
He played his
Uh,
part.
Yeah, he played his part. It was terrific, terrific. Thank you, Elena.
you.
And who else wants to jump in there? Barbara?
There I go. I was stunned, which because I immediately, of course, Googled it, at the reality of the performance. I mean, 3 days later, he was made a member of the Légion d'honneur. 3
Right.
days, and that the actual curtain calls
Yes.
were, I don't know, 40 or something, and it went on, and people were just so delirious about this play for so long. I was just stunned. Nothing like that has happened in my lifetime.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's what's interesting is it revolutionized theater in France. I mean, you had, you know, the most popular thing going into this was the Feydeau farce. You know, and you heard some of the titles, you know, the Lost Chicken, or whatever it was, that had all these silly titles that Feydeau was writing, and they were drawing room farces. And here he took a historical character and brought him to life on the stage, and it just turned things around. It was funny at the beginning. It gets, you know, serious. It's heart-wrenching. The last scene in the play, you know, which really captures the reality of it all. So I think that's, in a sense, what we're seeing is what the French was seeing. You know,
Right.
how excited they became over this. It was something new. It was something fabulous.
I loved all of the cast.
Yeah,
I
they
loved
were
all the cast,
terrific.
and I loved the trapdoor.
Yeah.
And I thought she was wonderful. They
Yeah.
were all good. They were all so good.
That's my Chekhov trapdoor. You know, don't show us a trapdoor in the first act unless it
Yeah,
goes
that-
off in the
that's gonna
third,
be
which
huge.
it did, which it did. But yes, it's the cast was wonderful. The cast was wonderful. Thank you, Barbara. Jackie, did you have something else?
I did. I agree with Elena. I really liked the wife. And so
Yeah.
like Barbara, we went immediately and Googled it and looked up a bunch of things about all of those things. It was interesting that they actually were married until 3 years before he died. So I'd like to know a little bit more about that if you know anything about their relationship.
Yeah, well, I really don't. I mean, I know that they were. I know that they were close. And that you know, he has a son. You know, he had a son who was also a playwright. His Rostand's son also became a playwright. That I know. I didn't get into the emotional aspects of their marriage. I knew that they mentioned that they had been close, and that she was a very popular poet. And she might have been, you know, an inspiration for him as well. I think he, you know, that
sure.
her, you know, her abilities certainly worked. But no, I didn't know about the 3 years. That escaped me. Thank you for telling me about that. So, anybody else? Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Nobody. Going once, going twice. Oh, I guess that's it. Well, this is terrific. I'm glad you all enjoyed the film. And I will tell you, when we meet again on January 24th, it's also going to be a very special film. It is a film which was nominated for an Academy Award last year. It was one of the top films among critics. I also found it to be one of the finest films I've seen in many years. It's entitled The Quiet Girl. The Quiet Girl. And it is from Ireland. And the film itself is in Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, and it's the story of a young girl and an 11-year-old girl, Kate, C-A-I-T, Kate, in a family of 5 children with a 6th one on the way. She's neglected, and the mother, who is pregnant, decides to send her off to a distant cousin for the summer. And what she will learn will open up her world. We see a child, I mean, watch this film with really open eyes. There are so many beautiful cinematic details in the film. There's not much dialogue. The film itself is so revealing of character, of the human condition, and a coming of age that's remarkable. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, because I watch it again, and I will be watching it again before we meet. So I look forward to hearing all your comments about it. And before we all sign off, I want to wish you a happy and healthy, safe and peaceful New Year. Peaceful New Year.
Yep.
And I look forward to seeing you again very soon in 2024. So I want you all to be well, and thank you. Thank you. It's been a great year, as it was before. And I look forward to another great year. Another great year with the library. So take care,
You help
everybody.
make it great, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Shelley.
much.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Shelley, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Peace, love,
Thank
and happiness.
you.
Yeah.
Hope we will have a peaceful year next year.